Hey y'all! Season 4 of WOW Superheroes has started, and we have dived straight into the drama with the Fab Four, and we're seeing how Holly Swag is going to pick up the pieces after the stunning betrayal that the Fab Four gave to her after that cage match. This is Steph Kat Talk WOW.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place we escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late. I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fake, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the
Hey y'all! It is so good to be back on this new episode of Steph and Kat Talk WOW, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of HWP, HWP Extra, and co-host of this fabulous platform where we talk about the women of wrestling, WOW superheroes, and I'm also a contributing writer for Daily DDT and color commentator featured on various promotions. And I am so happy to be back before you guys to talk about WOW. Katrina was not able to make it tonight, but she sends her well wishes, and I hope you guys are following her and catching up on everything that she has going on as Katrina Storm, as the world's busiest backstage correspondent in all of New York and New Jersey, and as an author and of all the things, and as a super mom. I hope that you guys are supporting her and just sending her all the love and support that she definitely deserves. But it's just me tonight, day one ish. So here we are to talk about all of the going ons of WoW Superheroes. Now, of course, if you've been watching their programming over the last couple of weeks, they have been preparing for their Fremont Street Experience show that's live in Las Vegas. They did some of those tapings this week, and then they will finish those out next week. So if you're in the Las Vegas area, please go check out their show, scream for them, yell for them, and support them in all the things because it is a huge deal that they're doing this show. And I know that on this past weekend's episode, they're talking about the history of WoW, its history in Las Vegas, and of course, where WoW hopes to go in the future. And I'm really pumped, and hopefully, we'll talk about that episode later on this week. But of course, I had to start this season off with talking about the last two episodes, which featured the second ever WoW cage match, or what I call it, the WoW in a cell match between Penelope Pink and Holly Swag and the Carlson twins, Lindsay and Lori Miami Sweet Heat for the WoW Tag Team Championships. Now, of course, before the season got officially started, they told the story of Holly Swag and how she found WoW with her mother, Big Rig Betty, as the mother truckers, and how they actually wound up helping the Fab Four when Vicky Lynn McCoy was a part of the Fab Four, and how they wound up becoming the tag team champions, only for Holly Swag to get a taste of the fabulous life after getting her and her mother in trouble and in debt to Lana Star after spending up that hotel bill, and of course her leading to stabbing her mother in the back and joining the Fab Four. And this steel cage match was definitely full of craziness, of mayhem. It was a really good match. There was one point where even Holly Swag jumped off of one of the corners of the cage. It was really high octane stuff. And I was so proud of all of these ladies for putting themselves on the line for our entertainment, most definitely, but definitely for the love of the game because they were tearing each other up in that cage. Even Lana Starr got knocked off of the apron at one point when she tried to interfere on behalf of Penelope and Holly. It was really nuts. There was a lot of craziness going on. All four ladies were thrown into the cage walls and all of the above. But the most shocking of the most shocking incident that happened during this cage match was when it looked like Holly was going to get the upper hand, only for Penelope to stab her in the back, and the Carlson sisters, Lindsay and Lori, proceed to attack Holly Swag. So it turned from a match into a jumping, and in the midst of them jumping Holly Swag, Big Rig Betty and Jesse Jones came out to try to aid her, but then it wound up to no avail. And now we have new WoW World Tag Team Champions in the form of Miami Sweet Heat. They are now the first ever five-time WoW Tag Team Champions. And this match was nothing short of spectacular and just brutal on all fronts. But it seemed like there was a fix in the entire time, um, as Penelope Pink got on the microphone, and basically said, "Look, Holly, I've been trying to get back at you since you cost me my WoW World Championship opportunity in the Battle Royal at the beginning of the season. And this was nothing but a plan concocted by Lana Starr in order for me to get my revenge." And there was more that she did have to say within the next episode, but the gaggery was afoot, because the way that I did not see this as a huge, long, winding plan. Literally, I did not see that coming at all. But it's very dastardly, it's very calculated, and it was really good, I have to say. And this is also where I just want to give WoW superheroes their credit, because when they get in their writing bag and when they get in their long-term storytelling bag, which is something that us wrestling fans love to talk about, is long-term storytelling. WoW is definitely one of the best at it, because in the midst of watching the episodes that were recapping Holly Swag's journey from when she started with the Fab Four in the beginning to all the way up until now, it's been this long winding road that no one thought that would ever find its place in this fourth season, but yet it has. And I feel like they deserve more credit for their long term storytelling when it comes to that and creating this television show. But I believe WoW Superheroes just deserves a lot more credit, period. But that's another conversation for another day. But either way, Holly Swag is now out of the Fab Four. The Fab Four is now created and made with Penelope Pink, Lana Starr, and the Carlson sisters in mind. And now we've gone from loving the Carlson sisters to hating them to loving them again. And now they've turned their back on Holly Swag. And now, well, they didn't turn their back on them. She turned her back on them, and then they basically got back at her in order to kick her out. So it's just nobody's better at being bad than the Carlson sisters. That's something that they always say. So that was a huge dramatic turn of events. And that's really what the bulk of the cage match episode was centered on. It was centered all on the Fab Four drama. So there really weren't a whole lot of other matches that took place within that episode. But either way, the ending of that episode made up for the lack. Not saying this is a bad thing, because it was a storytelling episode. It made up for the lack of other superheroes we did not see in the episode. So yeah, with that in mind, we move into picking up the pieces. And of course, they did release that on social media of the Carlson sisters being the five-time WoW Tag Team Champions. And of course, they'll never let us forget it. And it's just crazy. But now we move into picking up the pieces, which was the episode that aired last weekend and not this past weekend. So of course they recapped the drama of the cage match, and then they also showed how Big Rig Betty and Jesse Jones tried to help Holly Swag, which I thought was very heartfelt and very sweet, considering the way that their relationship ended with Holly turning her back on them. But Penelope Pink was backstage, and before we get to the first match, which is what that picture sort of alludes to, Penelope Pink was supposed to get an interview with Nigel Zane, and he was trying to get the inside scoop before the official interview. And she said, "Look, I don't have to tell you anything. I don't need this interview. You need this interview. So why don't you just get out of my face?" And she was getting her face beat and everything, looking gorgeous like she always does. Also, congratulations to her, because she did just get married to Dr. Eric. And she made the most beautiful bride. So congratulations to her on that. On the side note, outside of WoW. So she dismissed Nigel Zane and directed her very pointed words at Holly Swag. She said, I have a lot to say, and I'll say it directly to you, Holly. For the past year, I've had to sit around with that hillbilly and listen to what are we going to do, Pay Pay? You know, that country accent. What are we going to do, Pay Pay? You know, you know what it takes to do you know what it takes to deal with that on a daily basis? Someone needs to call my agent, Mark Rossler from CMG Worldwide, because it's Oscar season, baby. I had you all fooled. And she definitely had me fooled, I'll say that. I I had to wait patiently because Lana Starr always has a plan. And it took me forever to get this revenge, but it was worth it. Because Holly Swag, when you cost me my WoW World Championship, you cost me everything. And all it took was Lana Starr bribing you with some last season designer clothes. Pathetic, really. And Sweet Heat, they couldn't know about it. We had to keep this completely secret. We had to let the plan unfold naturally. And what's a few chair shots between friends? You know what, Swag? You're back where you belong, in Tennessee and the truck stop, in the hood, the Hollywood, where you're always going to be. You know what? You are the clown in my story, and I'll be the villain in yours. And I'm okay with that because I'm the best damn thing WoW has ever seen, and you will never be at my level. Love it. The most dastardly villain on this planet is Penelope Pink. Craziness, craziness, craziness. So, after that whole segment, she let the world know that it was all Lana Starr's plan and that the Carlson sisters weren't even in on it. But once it happened, it made sense to them and it all clicked. And it's just really interesting how it seemed as if Lana had abandoned Lindsay and Lori for a minute, but she picked them right back up and said, look, this was all my plan. Come back home. Let's get this together and just move on. Because it low key looked like for a second, Lana had dropped the Carlsons to basically put all of her smoke behind Penelope and Holly as the new hot thing. But that wasn't the case. So this was just a very, very calculated and cold plan to get Holly Swag out of there and to just get their revenge on her. And wow, just absolute gaggery. I can't wait for Katrina to come back so we can talk about it. But let's get to the episode. So, in this episode, the first match was between Animal Instinct and the Island Girls, is what I'm dubbing them, Tiki Chamorro and Kalaki, the Island Girl. And this tag team match was really sharp, and I really enjoyed it very much because usually a lot of what we're used to seeing is Tiki Chamorro just sort of um not saying that she hasn't been really focused or locked in the past, but a lot of the time, her opponents will get the better of her because they feel like, oh, well, she's this nice girl, and we're just going to take advantage of all her softer moments in the ring or whatnot. But Tiki and Kalaki, the Island Girl, were very calculated in a lot of their tags that they were making to each other to isolate Goldie and then isolate Katarina as well away from their partners. They were making frequent tags. They were moving in and out, utilizing their quickness and their hard hits to get the upper hand. It was really enjoyable to watch them be so in sync. In fact, they felt more in sync at times than Goldie and Katarina did in some places. But of course, once Goldie and Katarina found their opening, they did take advantage. Katarina wound up sneaking a kick to Kalaki and then hit a leg sweep and stomps to the shoulder of Kalaki as well. Katarina then tried to club on Kalaki and tagging in Goldie and basically just going on the attack to the Island Girl. But then there was one point where when it looked like Animal Instinct had the upper hand, Tiki wound up interrupting the count, which was something a little different that we normally don't see from her. She's not usually as aggressive when it comes to fighting for the win of a team or fighting for the win of herself in that way. She asserted herself by breaking up the count and fighting for Kalaki and fighting for her honor. And that was just really interesting. So in the midst of all of the madness that was happening in this match, um, as Goldie tried to as Goldie pushed Tiki into the turnbuckle and lifted her on her shoulders, Tiki gave a sneaking tag, a blind tag to Kalaki, and then she speared Katarina, and then Tiki gave a coconut crusher to Goldie, and Kalaki gave a surfboard stomp, and they wound up winning. So big win for the Island Girls here, beating a more not a substantial, but a longer tenured tag team here. And I thought this was really interesting considering Goldie and Katarina have been, waxing poetic about how they want to be next in line for those tag titles. But yet you lost to a team that hadn't really been together all of that long within the last season. So I'm pretty sure they'll go back to the drawing board and figure things out. But it was a very methodical and strategic win on the part of the Island Girls. And I do want to see more of them as a tag team real soon. So that match was really good. So, in the midst of everything else that was going on, we did get a clip of Penelope Pink and Miami Sweet Heat celebrating the championship, the tag team championship win in their mansion in Miami. Penelope Pink came with the drink of champions, which they said was a tequila that was created by Michael Jordan and Jeannie Buss. And this was breaking news to me because I was just like, hold up. I didn't know Jeannie Buss was out here making like high end liquor. I did not know that was going on. And I didn't know she made it with Michael Jordan either. But yeah, they called it the Drink of Champions. And they were going to pop the cork and celebrate the fact that they no longer have to deal with Holly Swag and that they are on top as the multiple time champions. And Lana Starr bought them the Drink of Champions with and left a note saying that she was sorry for not telling Lindsay and Lori about her plan and that she was just trying to outsmart the WoW universe, David McLean, Holly Swag, and those other hillbillies. So after all of that, after we see them popping the champagne, popping all the liquor, getting their drinks up and everything, we go backstage after the attack on Holly, and Holly is in her feelings, and it's completely understandable. She recalls her journey on WoW, and she talks about all of her motivations. And for the first time, we're starting to see where everything just started sort of clicking for her because of course, Holly talked about how she had a hard upbringing and how she would get into trouble out in the streets out in the streets of Tennessee. But her mom picked her up and said, "Look, why don't you come trucking with me so you can just stay out of trouble?" And Holly talked about how she really didn't want to do that, but she said, "Okay, fine, because you're my mom and because I really need to get out of this trouble, I need to do that. Fine, let's go." But she stated that when she first met the Fab Four and they were towing their truck and were given free tickets to WoW, she was looking at the way that Lana Starr and the Fab Four were dressed, and she was thinking that that was something that she wanted for herself, and that she wanted bigger things other than to just be a truck driver and a tow truck driver at that. So once she won the tag titles with her mom, that was great and everything, but she kept feeling like since she's a champion, she should be treated as a champion and lauded as a champion and have the riches and the lifestyle of a champion. So that led to her. So once she was exposed to the high life after all the mess that happened with Lana Starr and the hotel room, and after getting a taste of the high life, she stabbed her mom in the back and decided that she was going to have this life for herself. But now she realizes that this is something that she's going to have to earn on her own, as opposed to just, leaning on other people to give it to her as well. And it was just really interesting to see her sort of mentally go through all the choices that she has made over the past couple of months, involving all of the choices she had made. Like she was like, "Look, there was no more trucks, there was no more mama, just me, and I proved myself after Vicky Lynn McCoy left." And she brought swag and gold to the Fab Four. But then, and then of course she talked about how she turned on her own mother and all of the above. But she said, "Look, after all y'all gave me, You gave me new hair, you gave me new clothes, but you betrayed me. And now this version of Holly Swag, you've never seen her before, but you will never forget her either. And that made me feel like, oh, so we're going to get a whole nother version of Lana Star that I mean, not Lana Star, of Holly Swag that we've never seen before. Because of course we've seen her be like the goofy hillbilly mother trucker. We've seen her be, Hollywood swag, even with the Fab Four. And now she is taking all the pain from the betrayal and taking stock over what she's done. And now she's going to get her revenge. She's on her Kill Bill stuff. I love it. Please don't demonetize me for saying that. But of course, she's not going to kill him. But I'm just saying, like, she's on her revenge tour. And if 2026 is going to be the year of the Holly Swag Revenge Tour on WoW, then I am absolutely here for it because that was really, really crazy. So, after her monologue, we move on to the next match, which was Holiday versus Nikki Nashville. And this was another stellar match between these two women because even though Nikki Nashville, wears her beautiful red and white outfit and she, has this pretty face, she's also like very large in stature, kind of on the same level as a Holiday. So it was almost like they were evenly matched at the beginning. They were both shoving each other, and just testing each other's strength in the beginning. And even on commentary, they were talking about how her red and white outfit is a tribute to how she attended the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide. Um, but then, of course, they were talking about how she might be set tripping a little bit when it comes to her being, from Nashville, Tennessee, and that whole rivalry. And I think it's so funny that they brought that up last weekend, and this weekend it was the Alabama versus Tennessee game, which Alabama won. And it was just really interesting the timing of that. So I was just like, wow, that's crazy. So Nikki wound up missing a clothesline attempt, and Holiday missed a big boot. They both had each other scouted relatively well at the beginning of the match. Nikki attempted an O'Connor roll, but then Holiday pushed her off with a rope assisted momentum, and then Nikki jumped over Holiday and got a sling blade in, and then hit a drop kick to Holiday and a face buster, and it was with a 2 count as well after a rocker dropper. But Holiday wound up getting the upper hand by lifting Nikki and blasting her face into the turnbuckle and beating up on her and she threw Nikki into the corners and gave arm blows to the chest and a suplex. Then Holiday continued with an elbow attack, but Nikki bounced back by kicking Holiday, and then she tried again, but then Holiday gave her a clothesline. And Holiday proceeded to show how she's, the veteran in this match by getting the upper hand on her towards the middle component of it. But then Nikki proceeded to bounce back with a clothesline and a kick and hit an elbow slam. But then both women locked arms, and then Holiday wound up slamming Nikki, but it only took a sunset flip for Nikki Nashville to get the upper hand onto Holiday. So what some would call an upset, Nikki, a newer WoW superhero, wound up beating Holiday. And it was a stunning match between two powerful women. I loved it very much. I loved how sharp it was. I loved how both of them scouted each other real well. It was almost like they had both studied each other before fighting each other. And I just loved it. I was like, I could watch these two fight maybe 2 or 3 more times, if the match is going to be this good. So it was amazing. I love this match very much. And Nikki Nashville got the upper hand. So let me also just say on this show, from a personal level, the idea that Nikki Nashville as a character exists, after this year that I've had where I lost my friend who worked in wrestling media as well, Nikki Bougie, who was also from Tennessee, it's just really interesting for me. And just, I remember one time I was on live on here and I said her name and then I thought about Nikki Bougie and I was just like, being from Tennessee, and I was like, wow, that's her name. And it just really stuck with me. So every time I see Nikki Nashville, um, it just makes me think of her in a really good way because Nikki Bougie was sort of into WoW a little bit. She would watch it in and out, and she was such a great supporter of this show, of Steph and Cat Talk WoW, and it just makes me think of her all the time. So I just wanted to say that I love Nikki Bougie so much, and I miss her greatly. And just watching Nikki Nashville wrestle just makes me think of her all the time. So after um that match, they made the announcement that the next episode that came on this weekend was going to be a special centered on WoW in Las Vegas, which is going to be hosted by David McClain and Katie Marie Jones, who is, of course, the ring announcer for this season. So I can't wait to see them go around Las Vegas and see everything because I actually went to Las Vegas in April and it is a hoot and a half. It is a glamorous city. It's magical. It's full of lights. It can be very overwhelming at times, but at the same time, it is a very amazing city. And the fact that wrestling and also other fighting platforms are finding a home there, it's just really, really cool because it just gives sort of like a high, big show feel to it that it feels very modern. But then it also feels very old school as well. So I just, big ups to Las Vegas. I know a lot of people have their feelings about, certain shows going over there, for another year and all of the above, but I just really loved the city. And if the opportunity ever comes again, I will definitely go to Las Vegas because it's a cool city. I will not be doing gambling, however. I don't do that. I don't believe in gambling my money. I don't. And so to end this episode, they replayed the cage match again because, of course, online there was a lot of discourse about it. So they replayed the cage match and showed the betrayal again. And that was the end of picking up the pieces, which brings us to the end of our time together. It's a relatively short episode, but yeah. Um, Thank you guys so much for watching live. And of course, if you want to watch this later, you can watch it on In Cat We Trust, on Katrina's YouTube, or you can watch it on my YouTube, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And I hope you're continuing to support WOW and watch them on all the platforms that they're on. Watch them on whatever channel that they come on for you on regular analog TV. Go on wowe.com, type in your zip code, and see what channel it comes on for you. Or you can watch it on Hulu, or you can watch it on Pluto TV with their 24-hour WOW channel. Or you can watch it on Vice TV as well, or you can watch it on Roku TV in their Wrestling Central portal, which they air along with NWA as well. And also, you can catch the matches on their YouTube channel too, watch them there and support their merchandise. And like I said, if you're in Las Vegas, go to their Vegas tapings, please, please, please. And just continue to support all of women's wrestling across the board, across every promotion in the indies, on the mainstream level, and just support WOW Women of Wrestling as well. So, of course, you can find me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can listen to my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast. Um, Actually, you can follow it on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy WrestlePod. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is The Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the logo with HWP in the middle inside of a purple ring, which is in a diamond shape, like DDP. So you can do that. And also read all my articles on Daily DDT. I released 3 articles last week. 3 of them have been published. I wrote about my thoughts about WrestlePalooza. I wrote about my thoughts about Crown Jewel Perth. And my article that was published, the Crown Jewel, I think at this point, um, that was published was my top 10 Mercedes Moné matches of her entire career. And it actually got the attention of the 11, possibly 12, if, by the end of the night, the 12 belt champion, and she loved the ranking, and I'm so happy she did. But I'll talk more about it on my new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast tomorrow before Monday Night Raw. So yeah, just check your girl out, support your girl. You never know where I could pop up, but it's been a struggle lately because I've just been working and just getting stuff situated. I've needed rest, I've been tired and all the things. So if I haven't been in front of the camera for you guys, I apologize for that. I've wanted to so hard, but creatively I've been writing and professionally and personally, I've been all over the place and I've been tired from my actual full time job, but I'm trying to hold it together. So, yeah, this has been Steph and Kat Talk WOW, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and in Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye, y'all. Follow Katrina everywhere, too. But bye, y'all.